And with that, I hand back to you, Vaughan.
Ida, thank you so much. And as always, your chairwomanship of this panel was just flawless and wonderful, of course, augmented by a tremendous panel that was able to provide, I think, a very, as you mentioned, diverse scope of issues and understandings and perspectives. And I think it speaks to the entire, actually, 2 days that we've had, as you speak, to a very broad multi-stakeholder engagement, including not only member states to the United Nations, but scientists, technologists, early career experts, people really from around the world. And I think this is a testament to the fact that, as Dr. McNutt mentioned, even as we are in this era of COVID being really driving a lot of the global conversations, we are clearly at a time when we cannot take our eye off the ball about the importance of working across all of the different areas where sustainability stands in the crosshairs. And we are now within 10 years of action. And by 2030, we will be at that point. So 2020 to 2030, we have 10 years to solve many problems, and the role of science, technology, and innovation will be central to that. So we are now coming to the final session of this 2-day discussion, and that will really be a way to connect this back to much of the conversations that we've had around science, technology, and innovation for the Sustainable Development Goals by hearing from a colleague from UN DESA. So for that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Dr. Franklin Carrero-Martinez, who's also at the National Academy of Sciences, to chair that conversation.
Thank you, Vaughan. Thank you to my colleagues, excellencies, esteemed colleagues and friends. For me, it's an honor to be here. Talking about and what Haida just mentioned, I just want to highlight and emphasize that this meeting is a piece in our quest to improve the so-called science policy interface. This meeting is an opportunity for scientists, technologists, entrepreneurs, policymakers to share ideas, information with the ultimate goal to benefit society. That's why we're all here. This challenge goes from the full spectrum of the disease. It's not just the medical conditions that COVID is presenting, but also the need for scientists and this group of multi-stakeholders to address the inequalities that COVID is now posing, from child having difficulties accessing food insecurity, to the climate crisis. This is something that the scientific community should get behind and working together with policymakers. So without further ado, it is my honor to introduce the last speaker, Mr. Shantanu Mukherjee. I hope I pronounced your last name correctly. He is the Chief Director of the Integrated Policy and Analysis Branch within the Division of the Sustainable Development Goals at the UN DESA. Shantanu, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Franklin, and thank you to the organizers for this chance to see so many familiar faces, hear some very interesting conversations, and also to meet new people virtually today. So thanks a lot for having me here, and good afternoon, everybody, perhaps good evening to some. COVID-19 is a huge stress test of all of our systems at various levels. And like all stress tests, it has brought to the fore gaps and challenges. But it is also highlighting opportunities, trends that may have been somewhat incipient, maybe even under the radar, but which can be harnessed to emerge better and stronger. Many of these, of course, relate to science and technology. That's why we're having this conversation today, and that's why I'm speaking to you. And here at the Division for SDGs in UN DESA, our team works on various aspects of these. Let me mention just two. We bring together scientific evidence and analysis to inform SDG-related policymaking and implementation. And we promote the sharing of technology solutions, innovations, and good practices across countries and communities. Of course, we are not alone here in this effort. Partners from about 45 entities in the UN system, making up our interagency team, and many more from other communities work with us in this endeavor. Today, I'm not going to speculate with you on what the post-COVID world could look like, but I will share some thoughts on what this stress test is revealing to us. I hope this will serve to capture also some of the very stimulating things we've heard over these 2 days. Let me share with you 5 thoughts. First, the science, policy, technology endeavor is a whole of society effort. It is inherently cross-sectoral and multi-stakeholder at every level, and we have to catch up to this. We always like to talk about advancing synergies, but can we also learn about how to manage trade-offs when they happen across different specializations? Can we develop knowledge about them and solutions to mitigate them? I think this is an area of work that came to the fore with the SDGs, but needs emphasizing. Second, it is possible to speed up research and collaboration towards practical solutions for complex challenges. But can we use this period to establish good practices and standards for the future that will allow for exclusion, that will allow for acceleration, but also inclusion across countries, across women and men? Third, public trust in science and in technology is worth fighting for, but this is something we have to do actively. Can we learn from this period to do this more effectively? Changing not just minds and hearts, but also maybe Facebook. Speaking of Facebook, perhaps some of you have seen this paper which came out just last week in Nature, which showed that actually the people who oppose vaccines engage far more effectively with undecided people than do the people who are the proponents of vaccines. It's revealing. And that means we just cannot be passive when we deal with this. Fourth, good ideas and innovations can spring up anywhere and deserve to be made widely available. Can we help set up more robust approaches towards sharing these and helping in their adoption? And for what are clearly global public goods, how should we facilitate development and equitable access? And my final point, echoing also a little bit what Franklin said, inequalities across different dimensions matter for all of us and can hold any one of us back, not just the underprivileged or disadvantaged. Something as basic as access to water for hand washing can make all the difference in flattening the curve. How can we address inequalities more prominently and more effectively through science and technology? Ladies and gentlemen, what we are learning through this period is only emphasizing the essential role of global cooperation and collaboration, not just among countries or among the private and public sector or any of these, but among all stakeholders. The member states of the United Nations established in 2015 the Technology Facilitation Mechanism as a multi-stakeholder effort to help with just this kind of thing. It's a facilitation mechanism, not just for deliberation or negotiation or competition, maybe a bit of each, but also something more. At DESA, we are privileged to be able to support this. I invite you to find out more at sustainabledevelopment.un.org and also to get involved. Let me conclude by thanking once again the organizers of this event for its very timely and extremely thoughtful deliberations. We will use what we are learning from you in our own work within the facilitation mechanism and beyond, and look forward to continuing to engage with you in this joint enterprise, improving the well-being of all and reaching the SDGs through science, technology, and innovation. Thank you, Franklin. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Before closing our meeting, I would like to thank our colleagues from Mexico, Israel, and all of the other missions that make this event possible. Special thanks to our technical staff that work behind the scenes to make this event possible. Thank you all for watching. Please be safe, take good care of yourselves and your loved ones, and hasta la próxima. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Franklin. And thank you to everyone for participating both in the panels, but also critically within the web video as well. As you mentioned, I'd like to just give a special thanks to our co-organizers for this conference, the permanent missions to the UN of Ghana and Israel, who were this year's STI co-chairs, Mexico, the Czech Republic, Estonia, Singapore, Barbados, Japan, Rwanda, Kenya, and the Office of the Special Advisor to the Undersecretary General for the United Nations. And it is really a great pleasure that we could have this opportunity to keep science, technology, innovation, and sustainable development goals as part of the conversation, even in a time when it is difficult for us all to get together. And this is in many ways the start of this conversation, but is by no means the end. So we look forward to working with all that were both panelists, but also the hundreds of people that participated around the world as webinar participants. There's a lot to do in this space. And as I mentioned at the end, we've got 10 years or a lot of action if we're going to make some significant progress towards the SDGs. So with that, I hope everyone has a nice weekend. For those that stayed up very late to do this and participate in this, I know your weekend can actually start probably by going to sleep, but thank you very much to everybody for being part of this.